Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a really powerful idea from Francis Trussell's book, You Are Not Your Thoughts. Honestly, it's a concept that might just change the entire relationship you have with your own mind, guiding you from a place of constant inner chatter to one of real, genuine freedom. So let's just jump right in with the big question at the heart of this book. What if that constant stream of commentary, that judgment, that worry that's always running through your head, what if it isn't the absolute truth? What if it's all just a story your mind is telling you? This single shift in perspective is the key to basically everything we're going to talk about. Okay, so first things first, we need to get to know this inner world. For a lot of us, that voice inside our head isn't just some background noise, right? It's the director of our lives. And it's often a pretty harsh one. From a scientific standpoint, this actually makes a lot of sense. Our brains evolved with what's called a negativity bias. It was a survival tool designed to keep us safe by constantly scanning for threats. The problem is, in our modern world, that same mechanism can turn into this relentless inner critic. And to really get this, just look at the author's own experience. On the outside, she was totally successful, but on the inside, she was completely trapped by her own mind. She says her thoughts weren't just thoughts, they were the facts that my reality was built on. I mean, that's a feeling so many of us can relate to, where the stories in our head feel way more real than reality itself. And that's the real cost, isn't it? This isn't some harmless little habit. When our mind is constantly jumping around, either replaying old arguments or worrying about future disasters, we are literally missing out on the only place life is actually happening, right here in this very moment.
So, this whole internal struggle leads us to what the book calls the great illusion. It's this fundamental mistake that keeps so many of us feeling stuck.
And there it is. The core illusion is that we completely identify with that voice in our head. We think that we are the worrier, we are the critic, we are the anxious one. Trussell argues this is the mind's greatest trick, convincing us that its constant and often totally random chatter is the essence of who we are. Now get this, the power of this illusion is physical. It's real. I mean, think about it. When you replay a stressful memory, what happens? Your body reacts as if it's happening all over again. Your heart starts pounding, your stomach gets tied in knots, all from just a thought. That's because your nervous system can't tell the difference between a threat you're thinking about and a real one. It triggers the exact same fight or flight response. This just shows how deep that connection is between the stories in our head and the reality in our bodies. So, if we're not our thoughts, who are we? This brings us to the big solution in the book, learning to step back, watch the mind, and become what's called the observer. This is the moment where everything just clicks. The simple act of noticing your thoughts, just watching them, creates this little bit of space between you, the one who is aware, and the thoughts themselves. You basically shift from being the actor caught up in the drama to being the audience, just watching it all unfold with a kind of calm curiosity. I absolutely love this metaphor. Think about it. We don't try to fight a storm or hold on to a perfectly sunny day because we know that weather is temporary. It just passes through. The book suggests we treat our feelings the exact same way. Sadness, anger, even happiness, they're all just temporary states passing through us. We don't have to cling to them or push them away. We can just let them be. And here's another great way to picture it. Imagine your thoughts are like trains, constantly arriving at a station. Before, you might have felt like you had to jump on every single one that pulled in, every worry, every criticism, every what if. But with practice, you learn you can just sit on the platform and watch them come and go. You get to decide which trains, if any, you actually want to get on. Okay, so this all sounds wonderful in theory, right? But how do we actually build this skill of being the observer? Well, it all comes down to a really simple, intentional practice. At its heart, mindfulness is incredibly simple. It's not about emptying your mind. That's basically impossible. It's about filling your mind with whatever is happening right now. So instead of your mind being full of worries about a meeting tomorrow, it's full of the feeling of your breath, or the taste of your coffee, or the sounds of the world around you. So what does this look like in real life? Well, on autopilot, a stressor happens and it leads directly to a reaction. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and boom, you're instantly angry. But mindfulness introduces this tiny but incredibly powerful pause, a gap. And in that little space, that's where you find the freedom to choose a conscious response instead of an automatic reaction. So, how do you build that gap? Here is a super simple exercise from the book you can do literally anywhere, anytime. Now, the most important part here is step 4, The goal is not to never get distracted. Your mind is going to wander. That's what minds do. The real practice, the real magic, is in that gentle, non-judgmental act of noticing you've wandered off and then kindly bringing your attention back over and over again.
So, what happens when this practice becomes a more consistent part of your life? Well, it starts to build towards a completely new way of living, one that's really defined by freedom. You see, the end goal isn't a totally silent mind. The real prize is freedom. Those destructive thoughts might still show up, but their grip on you just loosens. They don't have the power to ruin your mood or dictate your actions anymore. And in the space they leave behind, you find peace. Just a space to be. And this freedom isn't some abstract idea. It shows up in your real life. It's the ability to actually find joy in small moments, to respond to challenges with wisdom instead of just panic, and to finally realize that you have the power to change your inner world, no matter what's going on outside. So if you take one thing away, let it be this. This whole journey isn't about fighting a war with your mind. It's about a radical shift in what you believe. It's about learning to see thoughts for what they are, just fleeting events in your mind, and then choosing not to give every single one of them your blind faith. And that leaves us with one final question for you. Think about a recurring, unhelpful thought in your own life. A worry, a self-criticism. What would it feel like to just notice it, like a cloud passing in the sky, instead of immediately obeying it like it's a command? So as you go about your day, just ask yourself, which thought are you ready to observe instead of obey?